This video is on common symbols and notations used in geometry. First, let's talk about line segments. A line segment is a piece of a line that has two endpoints. So if you were to put this symbol right here, the two letters with a line above it, or a line segment above it, this just means it is a piece of a line that goes from A to B. And line segment AB, uh, you don't have to start with like the leftmost letter. So this right here is line segment AB. This is also line segment AB. Or this one you can call line segment AB, or this one. So as long as you have the two letters that are at the end of that piece of a line, um, you'd write it like this, line segment AB. Okay. If you wanted to do the whole line instead of just a piece of a line, you would uh, draw a line with the two little arrows on either side. And this is the way you would read this. You just read it as line AB. And the two letters you're using AB are any 2 points on the line. They could be near the end, they could be in the middle. I guess there's not really an end, but any 2 points on that line you can use in your symbol or your notation for that line. So this is line AB, and that could be for this line or this line or this line. All three of those you could use this symbol right here. All right. And if you have lots of points on the line, like let's say you have these 3 points, you can call this line AB or line BC or AC or line BA, BC, AC, any combination of those three in whatever order. Okay, so line segments have two endpoints. A line has no endpoint, goes in both directions forever. If you have a situation where you only have one endpoint and then the other end just goes on forever, that's called a ray. And here, this is the notation for ray AB. So this is a ray that would start at A and then go towards B forever. And it could touch B and then it would keep on going past B, and it just keeps on going that direction forever. So here it actually does matter which letter you write first. You would write the endpoint first, and then the other letter can be any other point on that ray that is not the endpoint. Okay, so this ray right here would be ray AB. This would also be ray AB. The first letter you write here is the endpoint. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about angle notation. So here on this, let's say that we are trying to write the notation for this particular angle here in green. So that angle represents the angle between RT and TX. How much is that measure of that angle? So in this particular example, we can just call that angle right there angle T. This symbol right here is the symbol for angle. So angle T is equal to 25 degrees. So that is referencing this angle right there. We could also call that angle RTX with these three letters. This just means that if we start at R and go to T, and then go from, so that's R to T, and then we go from T to X, our angle is sandwich in between those two? Okay. Um, and we don't have to, you could also have written it in the other order. So you could write um, angle XTR. So that's starting at X, go to T, and then go to R. You'll notice that the angle T here, that letter right there, is in the middle when you write it with 3 letters. Okay. So moving on. Here, a lot of people I've noticed prefer to write the angle with just 1 letter. And you could sometimes do that, but not always. So let's give an example where you cannot just use 1 letter. So let's say that I'm trying to reference this angle right here, the 125. Okay, and so if I write it like this, angle RXT, I know that that is saying I should look at the angle that is between RX and XT. So that's that 125. Okay, and I could also call this T angle TXR, and we all know which angle we're talking about, the 125. But for this particular example, I cannot just call it angle X. I can't just use 1 letter. So pause the video for a second and think, why is it that I cannot just use the 1 letter X? When you're ready, hit play. Okay, so the reason I can't just use the 1 letter X is because if I just say angle X, am I talking about this 125 right there? Or am I talking about the 55? Or maybe when I say angle X, maybe I'm talking about from here all the way to here. Let me redo those 3 particular drawings. So yeah, if I say angle X, is it going to be this one? Is it going to be this one? Or is it going to be from here all the way to here? So in this case, there are more than 1 angle right around the X that someone might think you're talking about. So because there are more than 1 possible angle near X, we need to use 3 letters. So you know exactly which angle we're talking about. So this is basically what you'd call an ambiguous case, or unclear if you just use 1 letter. Okay, so let's move on. This is the notation for angles. Let's talk about the notation for triangles. So this right here is the symbol for triangle. And if I wanted to reference this triangle right here, I would just write this symbol for the triangle and then put the 3 letters, that represent the 3 vertices. Vertices are just the corners. So I could put triangle DEF, triangle DFE, any combination of these 3 in whatever order. Okay. Now, before we had talked about congruent triangles, and this symbol right here is the symbol for congruent. So if I wanted to say this triangle up top is congruent to this triangle down here, this would be the notation right here. This, you would read it as triangle DEF is congruent to triangle LKJ. And when you're writing these letters, you need to make sure that the letters are matching uh, the corresponding letters. So the order in the first triangle almost the order in this first part does not matter. D E F or F E D, whatever. But for the second three letters, you need to make sure that they match these three. The corresponding letters match. Let's do this in better detail. So if I was going to be talking about these two triangles, like what matches what on these triangles, I think many of you can see that this angle D matches this angle L. So I would say that those two angles are corresponding angles. And this angle J matches this angle F. So those two are corresponding. And finally, we can tell that this angle K matches this angle up here, E. So, because D corresponds with L, E corresponds with K, F corresponds with J, if I write for my first triangle, if I write it as DEF, then I need to make sure these match. So D matches the L, E matches the K, and then J matches the F. All right, moving on. Let's talk about parallel. So the symbol for parallel is right here. This is a symbol for parallel. And if I wanted to say that these two right here were parallel, this is how I would do that notation. So I would say you would read this as line segment AB is parallel to line segment CD. And the word parallel just means that the distance between those stays constant, is always the same. So for example, if I were to draw a different rectangle. Let's say I were to draw a rectangle right here. What you'll notice is that the distance between those two black lines are always the same. Okay, so if the distance between the two lines stay the same, same distance apart from each other, then we would say that those two are parallel to each other. So here, this is for a line segment. You can also have lines that are parallel to each other, and then you would just change the symbol from line segment to line. So these two lines, line EF is parallel to line GH. For these two examples, I drew them horizontal, but you can have parallel lines in any particular direction. Changing the how the angle they're inclined doesn't change the fact about whether or not they're parallel. As long as the distance between them stays the same, then the two are parallel. Okay. The next notation I want to talk about is for perpendicular. So perpendicular means that the two things will meet at a 90-degree angle or a right angle. This right here is the symbol for perpendicular. Let's show some examples of perpendicular. So this is two examples where line segment MN is perpendicular to line segment KP. In this example down here, they just touch at 90 degrees, and here the two cross each other. It doesn't matter whether they cross all the way through or they just touch, as long as where they meet, it is a 90-degree angle. Then the two are perpendicular.